Imagine building the most beautiful monument the world has ever seen. Not for glory, not for power, not to prove anything to history, but for grief. Imagine pouring your entire empire's wealth, your finest craftsmen, your last remaining heart, into a tomb for a woman, for one woman who died giving birth to your 14th child. That is not a fairy tale. That is history. And the man who did this was not a poet. He was not a dreamer. He was an emperor, one of the most powerful rulers who ever lived, a man who commanded armies, crushed rebellions, and governed nearly a third of the world's population. His name was Shah Jahan, and his story is not simply a love story. It is a story about power, obsession, betrayal, and what happens when the mightiest emperor on earth becomes a prisoner, not of his enemies, but of his own blood. Let's go back to the beginning. The year is 1592. In the ancient city of Lahore, a boy is born into the Mughal dynasty, the most powerful Muslim empire South Asia had ever seen. His name at birth is Khurram, Prince Khurram, the third son of Emperor Jahangir. And from his earliest years, he is different. Not reckless like some princes, not weak like others. He is calculated, disciplined, intelligent in the way that truly dangerous men are intelligent, quietly, patiently, always thinking 3 moves ahead. He grows up inside extraordinary beauty. The Mughal court was a world of architecture, poetry, music, and art unlike anything that had ever existed. It shaped him deeply. Shah Jahan would carry that love of beauty with him until the very last breath he drew. But the Mughal court was also a place of knives, of alliances forged and broken overnight, of sons plotting against fathers, of brothers who smiled at dinner and sharpened their swords in the dark. Shah Jahan understood this world early, and he was very, very good at surviving it. In 1612, Prince Khurram married a young Persian woman named Arjumand Banu Begum. She was 19 years old. He had other wives, as was the custom for a Mughal prince of his rank. But from the very first days of their marriage, it was clear that Arjumand was not like the others. She was not merely a queen, she was his equal. He gave her a new name, Mumtaz Mahal, the exalted one of the palace. What followed was 19 years of a partnership that went beyond the walls of marriage. Mumtaz traveled with Shah Jahan on military campaigns through dust and heat and danger. She sat beside him in councils of state. She was his confidant, his counsel, and by every account that survived, his closest friend in the world. The court chroniclers of that era recorded something remarkable. No Mughal emperor before or after, they wrote, had ever shown such singular devotion to a wife. In 1628, Shah Jahan ascended the throne and became emperor. The path there had not been clean. There was rebellion, there was exile, there were rivals removed, including with brutal clarity the execution of his own brothers to seal the succession. This was how the Mughals did it. It was never gentle. But when Shah Jahan finally sat upon the peacock throne, perhaps the most magnificent throne ever constructed in the history of human civilization, blazing with diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, he sat there with Mumtaz beside him. He had reached the summit of the world, and everything should have been perfect. Then came June of 1631. Mumtaz Mahal died in birth child. She was 37 years old. It was their 14th child. The grief that followed was not quiet or contained. It was total. The royal court entered 2 full years of official mourning. Music was silenced, celebrations were forbidden, and the emperor himself, the king of the world, aged visibly within days of her death. Witnesses who saw him in those early weeks said that his hair and beard turned white almost overnight, that the light behind his eyes simply went out. He had conquered everything a man could conquer, and he could not survive this. But grief in Shah Jahan did not produce surrender. It produced something else entirely. In the depths of his mourning, he made a decision that would outlast his empire, outlast his dynasty, outlast every army that ever marched across the face of the earth. He would build a tomb. No, not a tomb. A declaration. A monument so flawless, so eternal, that as long as the earth itself existed, the world would know that this woman had been loved. He summoned the finest architects from Persia, from the Ottoman Empire, from every corner of India. He commissioned master craftsmen from Central Asia and Europe. He brought 20,000 workers to the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra. He ordered white marble from Rajasthan, jade from China, turquoise from Tibet, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, carnelian from the heart of Arabia. For 22 years, he built. And what emerged from that labor, from that grief, from that obsession, was the Taj Mahal. Today, we look at the Taj Mahal and see beauty. But Shah Jahan did not see beauty. He saw her. Every arch, every minaret, every perfectly calibrated reflection shimmering in the long pool that leads to its gates, it was all for her. All of it. Grief carved in white marble and made immortal. By any measure, his reign was extraordinary. The Mughal Empire under Shah Jahan stretched from Kabul to Bengal, from the peaks of the Himalayas to the Deccan Plateau. His court was the cultural capital of the known world. The Red Fort in Delhi, the Jama Masjid, countless mosques and palaces and gardens, all rising under his vision in his hand. He was Shah Jahan, king of the world. And for a time, that title felt true. But empires carry weight, and after Mumtaz was gone, Shah Jahan carried his alone. His 4 sons grew older, ambitious, and impatient. The eldest and his father's clear favorite was Dara Shikoh, a philosopher and scholar who moved comfortably between Islamic mysticism and Hindu thought, a man of extraordinary breadth. Shah Jahan adored him openly. He had already decided Dara Shikoh would inherit the world. But there was another son, quieter, more patient, harder. His name was Aurangzeb. In 1657, Shah Jahan fell gravely ill. For one terrifying moment, the court believed the emperor might not survive. His sons did not wait to find out. The war of succession erupted before the throne was even empty. Aurangzeb moved with the precision of a general who had been planning for years. He defeated his brothers one by one in the field without mercy. He captured Dara Shikoh, his own elder brother, the chosen heir, the man his father had spent decades preparing for power, and had him executed publicly in the streets of Delhi. He called it a matter of religious necessity. Historians call it what it was, the ice-cold removal of a rival. And then, in 1658, Aurangzeb did something no Mughal prince had ever dared to do before. He imprisoned his own father. Shah Jahan, king of the world, builder of the Taj Mahal, emperor of the mightiest dynasty in Asia, was locked inside Agra Fort. He would spend the final 8 years of his life as a prisoner. Not in a dungeon, he was kept in relative comfort, surrounded by the luxuries befitting a former emperor, but the doors were locked, and the guards answered to his son. He could see the Taj Mahal from his window. Sit with that for a moment. Every morning, for 8 years, he woke inside a gilded cage and looked out across the Yamuna River at the monument he had spent 22 years building for the woman he had loved. Surrounded by everything that reminded him of her, guarded by men loyal to the son who had taken everything from him. He died in 1666. He was 74 years old, alone in the room that faced her tomb. His body was carried quietly across the river and placed beside Mumtaz inside the Taj Mahal. Together, finally, in the monument he had given his life to build. So why did Shah Jahan fall? Three things become clear when we study his story without sentiment. The first is what happens when grief becomes the center of a life. When Mumtaz died, Shah Jahan poured everything into the Taj Mahal: his focus, his energy, his emotional presence. The empire continued to function, but the emperor himself, in many ways, had already retreated into the past. And grief that consumes a man entirely always leaves gaps.